advise when the live streaming is commenced.
Okay, I'm preparing the live streaming. The live streaming has commenced.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. It's good to see you. I can confirm that the live streaming has commenced. The opening of the meeting, councillors, I seek a motion to resume the adjourned meeting, please. A procedural motion. Moved by Councillor Newton, seconded by Councillor Lawrence. All those in favour? Hands in front. Thank you. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you. Good evening, councillors, officers and our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Lena Messina and I'm the Mayor of Darwin City Council and the chairperson of tonight's council meeting. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the resumption of the ordinary meeting that started yesterday on the 28th of February and was adjourned until today, the 1st of March. Due to the current COVID-19 situation, this meeting will be held virtually and be closed to the public in the interest of health and safety of the public, councillors and staff. I declare this meeting resumed at 6:03 p.m. Whilst I did the acknowledgement last evening, I think it appropriate to repeat it as we resume this meeting. Darwin City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and waters we now call Darwin, and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. Council recognises and pays tribute to the diverse culture, resilience and heritage of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge the leadership of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and the right to self-determination in the spirit of mutual understanding and respect. Last night we needed to adjourn the meeting as Councillor Williams had left the meeting, and I'm pleased to say the follow-up took place and Councillor Williams' wellbeing was addressed, and we're pleased to say she is okay, so thank you. Membership, before we commence, I'd like to introduce the councillors in attendance this evening. Based on who I see on the screen first, I'm acknowledging that it might not be who you see on the screen first. So the first councillor I see, if you could just say your introduction so we know that we can hear you. So the first one is Councillor Newton.
Good evening, Mayor and everyone.
Good evening. Councillor Lawrence.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening to the public as well.
Thank you. Councillor Greco.
Good evening, Mayor, and hello to everybody else.
Good evening. Thank you. Councillor Dimitriadis.
Good evening, everyone.
Councillor, good evening. Councillor Williams.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Rennie.
Good evening, all.
Councillor Tom Hannon.
Good evening, Mayor. Pleasure to be here again.
Thank you. Noted as apology is Councillor Trent McCarthy at this stage. Councillors, I also have officers in attendance tonight. We have the CEO, Sue Wilkinson, Sam Hewitt, General Manager, Operations and Capital, Rachel Olivier, General Manager, City Sustainability and Strategy, Shadi Hannon, the Acting General Manager of Communities, Jodie Watson, the General Manager of Governance and Engagement. So let's get on the way. Councillors, we will now move to item number 9.4, a notice of motion, Reservoir Leisure Centre. I will confirm that Mr. Mann, we reached the point at this item where a procedural motion had been moved by Councillor McCarthy and seconded by Councillor Rennie, and that is the motion before the council be put. This was carried. However, we have not moved to the vote on the substantive motion. Can I just confirm, Mr. Mann, if that is correct?
Mayor Messina, that is correct. That's the point we got to. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I then ask that we have the substantive motion?
Sorry, Mayor, can I ask a question just in regards to
no. Actually, Councillor Dimitriadis at this stage, and I sought government, there was no questions and no further amendment and no debate. So, Councillor Stephen Mark,
I have a point of order in relation to meeting procedure.
Just one moment. Just one moment, Councillor Greco. I'm going to go to Mr. Mann. Mr. Mann, could you please correct, can I please have some advice as to questions or debates or amendments are allowed at this stage, please?
Certainly, through you, Mayor Messina. The point we reached in last evening's council meeting was quite clear from my notes that Councillor McCarthy moved and Councillor Rennie second a procedural motion that the motion before the council at that point be put. That was carried, that was voted upon and carried. However, we did not move to vote on the substantive motion. My advice to you, Mayor Messina and Council, is that we now move to put that substantive motion. We have arranged as officers to have that substantive motion ready to put on the screen. It should be put to the vote at this point. There's no opportunity for further debate, further amendments or questions.
Thank you.
I had a governance question.
No,
I had a
no questions. So
It's a governance question.
Councillor Dimitriadis.
It's about when the meeting finished. I'm sorry, I'd seek some clarity in this. How am I supposed to understand what's happening if I can't ask a question about what's happening?
Mr. Mark stated that there are no questions at this particular time. So can I please have the motion put
I
on
have
the
a point of order, Mayor Messina, which has not been addressed. My point of order is in relation to 10.1(1)(a), is contrary to meeting rules. So can I get my point of order? Can I state what my point of order is?
You can. I'm going to over to Mr. Mann, please. I seek your governance, please.
Certainly, Mayor Messina, I'll repeat my advice. You have before you a procedural motion has been carried by this council, and it's very clear. The substantive motion needs to be put. If there is to be questions after that, well, so be it. But my advice to you, Mayor, is the substantive motion, which we will show on the screen now, needs to be voted upon.
Thank you. Can we please
My
put that?
point of order was that
Councillor Greco, we've heard from Mr. Mann. He is a governance officer, the expert in this council.
But I'm raising a point of order in relation, and my point of order is that the meeting. I just reviewed the videotape of the meeting of last night. Yes, the motion was put, but there was no clear indication. There was no statement made by you, Mayor Messina, that the motion was successful. There was a vote that was called, and then the meeting got interrupted as a result of Councillor Williams. So I'm seeking clarification in relation to that, because my review of the video was that there was no finalised vote taken on this matter.
Can I ask you to keep
Can I get some clarity in relation to that?
Sure, but can I ask you to keep your voice down? Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Mann.
Thank you, Mayor Messina. My records clearly show that the motion was put, and there was 5 votes for and 4 against.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Can I please have the motion on the screen? Councillors, this is a substantive motion. Councillors, what we have in front of us is a substantive motion. I would like to also not acknowledge the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Trent McCarthy, has also entered the chamber. Thank you.
Sina, I have a point of order just in relation to what our governance officer has just said. Again, I viewed the video last night, and the governance officer, there was 5 votes for and 4 votes against. But my viewing of the video showed that Councillor Williams did not vote, because Councillor Williams actually left the meeting because of her health reasons. So unless I was watching something else, I'm not sure what we're actually talking about.
Thank you, Councillor Greco. I'm going to take the advice of the officer, and we have a motion in front of us. It was moved by Councillor. It is a substantive motion.
I've got another point of order. That's a misrepresentation, because Councillor Williams didn't vote on the thing, so it's clearly not a 5-4 vote.
Councillor Dimitriadis, I'm going to go with what the governance officer.
Sorry, I've got a point of order. You say you have to address it, whether it's a misrepresentation or not. It's clearly
I'm clearly not going to make a ruling, because I've listened to the advice of the governance officer.
But have you not seen the evidence? The evidence is clear. She wasn't in the video.
Councillor Dimitriadis,
it's quite clear. The evidence is crystal clear.
Councillor Dimitriadis, you're interjecting, and I can go to the orderly statement.
Surely the CEO should intervene at this point in terms of misleading statement by an officer, not us. And it's more appropriate the CEO. She has the power there under the correct section.
I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
That should happen.
Thank you, councillors. I'm going to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to go over to the CEO. Thank you. Please turn your volumes off, your sound off, please. Thanks. Councillors, we're about to resume the meeting. Can I ask you, can I have a gallery view, please? And can I ask for all councillors to have their camera on and their microphones muted? And once I can confirm that everybody has their camera on and microphones muted, I will now formally open the meeting again. So we'll just wait for Councillor Demetriadis, Councillor Greco and Councillor Williams. I'll just wait for Councillor Councillor Demetriadis. Thank you. Good evening. The meeting is now opened. I'm going to now direct the microphone over to Ms. Wilkinson.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, councillors. During the adjournment, I took a moment to review the video from last night, and what the recording shows is that the procedural motion was moved and seconded, and then the Mayor called for a vote. At the exact moment that the Mayor called for a vote, Councillor Williams left the meeting. It's since been established through text messages that I've had with Councillor Williams that that wasn't as a result of technical issues, so that was a departure. So whilst there's been an administrative error in recording that as 5-4, that is easily corrected to 5-3, and I thank councillors for pointing that out. But there was indeed a valid vote on the procedural matter, and it is now, council is now required to go straight to the substantive motion. The procedural motion was valid. So thank you for your assistance, councillors.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. Can the Mayor rule on my point of order for misrepresentation, please?
Well, I need some further governance advice. Is that?
So I'll provide some advice, Mayor. Councillor Demetriadis, I think that I don't think the Mayor my advice to the Mayor is that I don't think she was misrepresenting. It was as reported. It's been clarified.
Oh, sorry, my
good
misrepresentation wasn't about the Mayor. It was about the officer who misrepresented the council meeting, the votes.
I think Ms. Wilkinson just confirmed it is administration error. It will be collected in the minutes.
Can you please vote on the point of order, Mayor? I don't know why you're avoiding it. It's quite clear.
Not at that particular time. I think we should move on with. I think we should.
How can everybody else see it, but you couldn't see it?
I think we can move on to the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Demetriadis. I take what you've said, Ms. Wilkinson. Can I please have the substantive motion on the screen, please?
I'm not sure how this is good governance, to be honest.
Councillor Demetriadis, thank you. That is the substantive motion on the screen. Can I now put that straight to the vote? All those in favour? That is Councillor Hannon, Councillor Newton, Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Messina and Councillor Rennie. All those against? Councillor Demetriadis, Councillor Lawrence, Councillor Greco and Councillor Williams, I don't see your hand.
No, I'm abstaining.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. That has been carried. Councillors, the next item we have on the agenda is Cane Avenue notice of motion by Councillor Demetriadis. Councillor Demetriadis, would you like to move your notice of motion?
Yes, can I have it please on the screen?
Absolutely. I'll just get my papers as well.
I'm happy to second if needed.
I haven't asked for one, but thank you for volunteering. Councillor, that's your motion, notice of motion. Can we have that on the screen? I just wanted to confirm. I haven't asked Councillor Demetriadis if that was her notice of motion in full. Sorry, officers. Can I just confirm, Councillor Demetriadis, that is your notice of motion?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. That is moved by Councillor Demetriadis and seconded by Councillor Hannon. Councillor Demetriadis, would you like to speak to your notice of motion?
Yes, thank you. So local residents have raised the possibility of implementing fencing along a currently unfenced section of Kane Avenue in Fairfield. And this is to improve pedestrian and resident safety, and which is currently used for pedestrian access and as a recreational space for locals. This area of Northgate between Fairfield train station and Dennis train station is unfenced, with native vegetation along the railway line and with the other side of the avenue being a residential street. Unlike the train line along large parts of Northgate, such as Railway Place and Wingrove Street, this section is without a fence, and it poses a potential danger to anyone who enters the beautiful area adjacent to the train line. This notice of motion also calls on Darebin to work with the Department of Transport to explore leasing additional land along with this stretch that can benefit our local community. While the majority of rail network is under the responsibility of Metro Trains Melbourne and therefore subject to the risk-based prioritisation framework, Council can explore opportunities to work with the Department of Transport to make improvements to local safety and address residents' request for fencing along Kane Avenue. If other councillors do support this, it'll be a huge benefit to our community. I hope you will all take the opportunity to support my motion here to try and improve the safety along Kane Avenue. Thank you.
Dimitriadis. Councillor Hannan, would you like to speak to the notice of motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to thank Councillor Dimitriadis for raising the profile of Kane Avenue and the railway there. Kane Avenue, for those who don't know, it's a wonderful little strip. It's a great community centre. There's Indigenous plantings that have been put in there. There's a little sort of informal bike track for kids. The people in the street take a lot of great care, and it's a centre both for the environment and also for the community. It is in one of those lands that is primarily state owned through Metro Trains, so not one that council directly has control over, but council has facilitated in the past some local actions there. Given that there is a community centre and that there are children around, I totally agree that it would be most appropriate for this strip to be fenced off to improve safety. And I'd say it's one of many in Darebin. This is just one example. There are others. I know, for example, on Hartington Street, you've got virtually a cliff there near where residents live. It's another example where I would say there's desperate need of fencing. So I welcome this motion. I welcome the sort of collaborative approach intended in terms of working together with the community, together with the state government to try to get a result. And I would hope that we can get at least some options firstly, just to see what's possible, and then hopefully some action towards making this and other areas in Darebin safe. Thank you.
Councillor Hannan, we've heard from Councillor Dimitriadis, the mover, and the seconder, Councillor Hannan. Are there any further speakers? As there are no further debate, I'll put this item to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Hannan, Newton, Rennie, Dimitriadis, Williams, McCarthy, Greco, Lawrence and myself. That motion has been carried. Thank you. Councillors, the next item we have to consider is item number 11, consideration of reports considered confidential. Councillors, we have 3 confidential reports to be considered this evening. In accordance with section 66(2), the Local Government Act 2020, Council may resolve to close the meeting to the members of the public to consider the item designated confidential by the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with section 3(1) of the Act. Councillor, is there a mover of the recommendation? Mover by Councillor McCarthy. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Rennie. All those in favour?
I have a point of order.
I've gone straight to the vote. So your point of order is Councillor Lawrence?
My point of order is 4.1c, and I have concern.
Just
Sorry, Matt, I think Councillor
Lawrence
means 10.
Councillor,
I'm sorry, but last meeting, you let Councillor Newton not even have a point of order number. And then
Councillor Dimitriadis, you've interjected.
That's because you're not having a fair meeting. How is this fair?
Sorry, can I just correct that? Mayor Messina, it's type 10.1C. Sorry, I was reading it wrong.
That's okay.
10.1C.
But I was coming back to you before I was interjected. Now, Councillor Lawrence, one moment.
Yes, 10.1C. Outside the powers of council. I believe one of these matters involves a breach of a contract, and it is outside our powers to make decisions to breach the contract. And that's the contractual matter item.
Okay. Well, which item?
And I don't think it should have been permitted to have something that would put us in a compromising situation like this.
Okay. Mayor Messina, can we move into camera?
Yeah,
Can I
move
move
Thank
to
you.
move into camera?
Yeah, do I have a second for that, please? Second by Councillor Rennie. All those in favour? That's Councillor Newton, Councillor Williams, Councillor McCarthy, Greco and Rennie. And all those against? Councillor Lawrence and Councillor Dimitriadis. And that motion's been carried. Can we please go into camera? Thank you.